Thank you so much, everybody, for being here tonight. My name is Sandy Hart. I'm the chair of the Lake County Board, and on behalf of my colleagues on the board, really appreciate you taking the time to be here on such a beautiful evening. This is our very first reapportionment public input meeting. This is different from the town halls that you may have seen during COVID, so during 2020, when we were really giving out information about COVID and learning from the health department and others about the pandemic, and then about all the resources that are available. This is different in that we are really here to listen to you and what are the things that you are looking for in terms of the county board and the reapportionment process. So I will fill you in a little bit on what that means. But before I start, I am joined tonight by Gary Gibson, our Lake County Administrator, Cassandra Torstensen, the Assistant County Administrator, and she is tasked with helping us with the reapportionment process. And Karen Fox, she is the Chief Deputy of the Lake County State's Attorney's Office. And we also have several members of our communications team who are here. We could not do these without them, so we're very grateful. And also Tony and Sylvia, who are both providing interpretation tonight for us. So this meeting is live and is being recorded. This is the first time that we're doing a virtual listening session and also offering that in Spanish. So I hope you'll bear with us as we maneuver through the technology tonight. So if you've joined us already, you can select the interpretation icon at the bottom of your screen in Zoom, and that's so whether or not you want to hear the audio in English or in Spanish. And if you are listening to it in Spanish, you may find it easier to mute my audio. So you do have that option. And there also may be a period of delay between the language being spoken and the translation being provided. So we'll start tonight's meeting on with a very short presentation on reapportionment, and then following that, we'll open it up to hearing your input on Lake County Board reapportionment. Alex, if you could turn to the next slide, please. Thank you. So as I said, thank you. So just real quick, if you're watching this tonight on the computer, there, if you kind of use your mouse at the very bottom, there's a spot where you can raise your hand on your computer. But if you've dialed in with your phone, you hit *9 to raise your hand, and then we'll kind of unmute, give you the ability to unmute, and to do that on your phone, you'll hit *6. And we are limiting public input to 3 minutes this evening, and there will be a timer provided, and that's obviously as a courtesy to give other people an opportunity to speak. So thank you very much for adhering to that. And again, tonight, the focus is really on Lake County Board reapportionment. So there are many important topics, at the federal level, at the state level, at the local level, but tonight it's really about reapportionment. And so again, as a courtesy to the people who are here tonight to provide comments about reapportionment and listen to their friends and neighbors speak about reapportionment, we won't be accepting comments about anything other than about Lake County Board's reapportionment process. We have some county board members who are on tonight and who were on last night as well. And so please know that our board members are very well versed in sort of the local issues and the state issues. And I know they are truly dedicated to public service. And so they would, I would encourage you to reach out to them with any questions you may have. You can visit lakecountyil.gov, and you can hit County Board on the left-hand side, and you can find your county board member. And we all have newsletters that we put out. And so I'd encourage you to get the email newsletter sent to you that's put out by your county board member. So thank you very much. Next slide, please. Thank you. So reapportionment is just the redrawing of district boundaries, right? So right now there are 21 board members on the Lake County Board, and we all have our individual districts. So after the census is conducted, the following year, we redraw the district boundaries so that they can be substantially equal. So it is completed every 10 years. And in this process, which we follow state statute, we must determine the number of board members. So the county board will vote on that, the number of board members, the number of board districts, And if we want those board districts to be multi-member or single-member districts, so Lake County right now has single-member districts, and then how the county board chair is elected. And it is not required when county board members are elected at large, which is in essence, every county board member would essentially run countywide. County board reapportionment does not impact taxes. It does not impact the boundaries that are set up, like a school district or library district or park district. It's truly only for representation of the county board. It doesn't impact zoning. It doesn't impact your taxes. It doesn't impact congressional boundaries or state district boundaries. This is only for the county board district boundaries. So thank you. Next slide, please. So it started being required in 1971 and every 10 years after that. And there are just a few things that we need to follow. All the districts must be substantially equal in population. And that says as close as practicable. And the reason why that is added in there is you may have a small municipality that's actually quite covers sort of a large area. So maybe if you want to keep a small municipality together, you might be off by, X% from another district. It also needs to be contiguous and nearly compact as practicable, and that's sort of in that same example. You certainly they have to be contiguous, right? You can't have a district that starts and stops. But sometimes you might look at something and say, wow, that doesn't seem to make sense to me. But there are municipalities that have annexed over time. And so they go quite far in sort of fingers almost is how I would put it, in sort of odd shapes also. And then it has to be done using the last preceding decennial census. So certainly we believe that is 2020. Please know that right now, our country, the United States, does not have that data yet. As you'll see on this following bullet point, the reapportionment is due July 1st or the day after the regularly scheduled July County Board meeting. So that is July 13th. But we don't believe that we will get our census data. We'll have something called legacy census data by mid-August, and we're supposed to receive all of these census data by end of September. 10 years ago, we got that census data like in the March, April timeframe. So there was plenty of time. So we believe it's extremely important that we use the 2020 census data, but we have to follow the county code. And so we're working closely with our state legislators and with counties across the state of Illinois to request a change to the county code, right, the state statute, so that will enable us to utilize that 2020 census data. So I do want to let you know I had a couple of conversations today. I had a couple of conversations yesterday. We know that our state legislators are working very hard on many different issues, and they are definitely aware that this is a problem. I feel confident that we are going to get that extra time in order to utilize that 2020 census data. If any of you on the call tonight were sort of part of making sure everybody was getting counted, you would recall how difficult that was during a pandemic and all of the time and money and effort that went into that. And really the census is so important, not only to ensure that everybody is counted, but also to ensure that we understand where our minority populations are, because in compliance with our Federal Voting Rights Act, when you have a minority population and you can group them together at 50% or greater, you must, so that you can be sure that they are not being disenfranchised. So that's very important, obviously. So we are working with our state legislators. All of us, I know, county board members are reaching out to them. This is happening again statewide. Our colleagues across the state are doing the same thing. And if anybody here this evening would like to reach out to your state legislator, we would be grateful. And I know they always enjoy hearing from the public. So we really appreciate that. So barring a change by the state legislature, it is due by July 13th, and then that final approved plan is filed with the county clerk. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the history of reapportionment: in 1992, we had 23 single member districts and a population of just over 500,000. And then 2002, our population grew quite a bit actually in that 10 years, and we stayed with 23 single member districts. 2012, our population grew again at 21 single member districts. At our best guess, we think our population is relatively stable, and it may have even declined. But again, we don't know what that looks like, and it will be up to my colleagues on the county board and I to determine what what are the answers to those questions about what the new districts will look like. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this meeting tonight, as you know, is being offered in English and Spanish. So again, there might be a period of delay. Again, to raise your hand, click that raise hand button at the bottom of the screen. If you've dialed in by your phone, you'll press *9 to raise your hand. It will ask you to unmute yourself, and in order to do that by phone, you'll be asked to press *9. Again, as a courtesy, we're going to limit to 3 minutes per person. So thank you very much for having that back up. Next slide, please. So we're going to have this screen up during the whole presentation. And so it's just as a reminder, these are the decision points that our county board would like to hear from you on. So again, it's the number of board districts, as well as whether or not those districts should be single or multi-member. So a multi-member districts, we gave a couple of examples here. Lake County is part of the collar counties, and that's the counties that form sort of that collar around Cook and the city of Chicago. So McHenry is considered a collar county, and they have 6 districts right now with 4 members per district. And for 2022, they have already voted and decided to go to 9 districts to 2 members, right? So initially they had 24 members, now they're going down to 18. DuPage currently has 6 districts with 3 members in each district, and Will County has 13 districts with 2 members each. And Kane and Lake, we just have single member districts. We did have a couple of questions. There is information on the website about reapportionment, and you can find, there are a couple studies that were done professionally by university, I think in 2000 was done by the University of Illinois at Chicago, and those are available on our website. There was one, I think, done before that, and then another one done in 2018. That was essentially people selected from across Lake County. So that information is available at lakecountyil.gov. And on the left-hand side, there's something that says County Board. And I think you can scroll down there and then you'll find reapportionment. Also, so number of board members is another decision point. So by state statute, which we must conform to, you can have a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 29. And so just to note, at 800,000, we don't anticipate being at 800,000, but you never know in the next 10 years. But at 800,000, you can have no more than 18 board members per state statute. And also, just as an aside, at that point, the county board members no longer would represent the Forest Preserve. So right now, we get to serve on the Forest Preserve board as well. And lastly is the county board chair. If it should be an election that is elected countywide for a 4-year term, and that's what happens in McHenry, Kane, and DuPage. Or if the chair is elected by the county board, that's what's done here in Lake County, and that's just a 2-year term. And a county executive also elected countywide, and that's what they do in Will County. One thing that's not on this list is also how county board members should be paid. If they should be paid salary, and that's how they are now, or per diem in terms of sort of number of committee meetings that are attended. So before we start, I just want to remind everybody, it's not you know, it's not really a question and answer. This is sort of opening it up to hear from the public about your thoughts on reapportionment and really around these three sort of target areas. I guess I should say four, because there's the other area about whether county board members should be paid by salary or per diem. So appreciate that very much. Again, it's not for us to be talking, it's for us to really be hearing from you. So thank you for joining us this evening, and I will take a look at our participant list. And if you would like to speak, if you would please raise your hand and I will call on you. And sometimes there will be some times of silence, and that is fine. So again, we are here until what time, Alex? Not even sure. 7:30, 8:30, 8:45. So no matter what, we're here till 8:45. We want to hear from you. So I hope you'll consider giving us your thoughts. And while we're waiting, I do know I saw one of my county board members, and maybe more. I saw Mike Danforth is here this evening. So thank you, Mike, for being here tonight. All of our county board members are very interested in hearing from you. And Mike is a member, Mike Danforth is a member of the Reapportionment Committee. Those members, I am the chair of that committee. Mary Ross Cunningham is the vice chair of the board and also the vice chair of that committee. And also joined by Jessica Volitzik, Jennifer Clark, Mike Danforth, and Linda Peterson. So let me see, Jessica Volitzik is on here. As I said, she's a member as well. And Linda Peterson is on here too. And Linda was here last night as well. So thank you, as was Vice Chair Cunningham, who is on. Okay, all right. Well, thanks. Thank you so much for joining me here tonight. As I said, everybody cares deeply about public service and really would like to hear your thoughts. So I hope you'll share them tonight. Thank you. Bob Hamilton, and you're currently muted. So to unmute.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. Hi, Bob Hamilton from the Wauconda area. Sandy, you and I met, you're used to seeing me at the Waukegan Port District. I actually live out here in Wauconda, or outside Wauconda.
Oh, nice.
A couple of comments on your various issues that you had up there. One is about the Forest Preserve District. McHenry runs its conservation district, the equivalent of our Forest Preserve District, with a citizen committee, relieves the county board of one heck of a lot of extra time and effort. And it's an approach you might consider, because I understand the load that the county board members carry if they're going to do the job correctly. And the ones I've worked with do so, and it's a lot of time. On the question of single or multiple member districts, I like the single member approach. I like having one person I can call from my district or in whatever district. And in terms of the number of districts, I suggest we reduce them. 21 seems like a tremendous load. If we went down to say 15 single member districts and we relieved the board members of the Forest Reserve obligation, this might work much more efficiently.
Esto puede trabajar más eficientemente.
Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias.
And Sylvia, I just want to let you know, I can hear you on my side, which is totally fine with me. I just hadn't heard that in the other three. So I just want to make sure the channels are correct.
Apologies. You are correct.
No worries at all. I just, all the technology that is working in the background tonight, I'm just very impressed with our communications team. There's 2 different channels happening. So they've just done a great job. So thank you. I just want to make sure people who are on can hear what they need to hear. So thanks, Sylvia. And Bob, you may have been muted early. So if there was anything that you wanted to add, please feel free to raise your hand again. We would love to hear from you again. So our apologies on that one. Great, perfect. Go ahead, Bob. I show you're unmuted, but I can't hear you.
How about now?
Now I can hear you now.
Okay. On the question of the county board chair appointment or election, I like the way it's done currently. I think the board chair should be elected by the people that the chair has to work with. And so I like having the county board elect the chairperson. Did we talk, or did you hear me about this single member districts?
Yes.
Did we get to that? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
And then the last point that I have is simply, it wasn't on your list, but it's simply, you know, a problem we see statewide is the partisan or party-based realignment of the districts. And I'd love to see this be much more independent. And I'd love to see our districts be a bit more regular in their shape. I'm in the 17th with Mike Danforth, and it actually, mine's pretty good. But I look at some of the others, the one that Ann Main is in, or that Gina Roberts in the Arc to Triumph district. We ought to be able to regularize those a little bit better, I would think. And that's all I have. And thank you for hosting this.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Bob, for raising your hand and giving us your thoughts. And just as a reminder, we are here until 8:45, but would encourage you to speak if you're thinking about it, maybe earlier rather than later. But we have learned over the last 2 days to be pretty good with silence. So no pressure, but we would really like to hear from you. So thank you.
Oh, Madam Chair, hi, this is Gary Gibson, and I know you just made a comment about, you know, waiting for people's comments. I know in our earlier sessions, if we can, Alex, if we could go back to the web page, I know you had covered it briefly, Madam Chair, but just so people could see where on the web page. So if you go to www.lakecountyil.gov, and you can see there where government is, and you do the drop down, and down below the county board, on the left-hand side, you'll see Reapportionment Committee, and that will have information on it that the county board, and in this particular case, the Reapportionment Committee is considering. There's information, as Chair Hart indicated, down farther down, regarding the studies that have been attached. If people would like to take the time to review that information, that's the most recent from 2018, when former U.S. Attorney Fred Foreman and former State Representative Kathy Rigg were co-chairs of that most recent government reform and accountability report. And as Chair Hart noted, back in 2000, there were a number of academics, professors from the University of Illinois at Chicago that compiled the 2000 Modernizing Lake County Government Action Plan. Those are all available with all the additional documentation. So if someone would like to read some, get some more additional information, it is all available on our website. So thank you, Alex, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate it. And thank you, Alex. It's nice when you can show people live. And actually, I think I'm glad that you did that, Gary, because I think I said, click on county board, but really I should have said, click on government, and then you can go down from there. So I appreciate you fixing that for me. Thank you.
Madam Chair, it's Gary again, and I know we do have some silent times, and that's okay. Since Alex put this screen up, just want to reemphasize that note you had made earlier regarding, just for people's information, the population. While we are, I think no one anticipates will be anywhere near 800,000, maybe even by the next census period. But at this point, yeah, we think the population will be stable at 700,000. But if we were to get to 800,000 at Lake County at some point, under the statutes, the county board would be limited to no more than 18 board members. And as you noted, the forest preserve would be then split off from the county board. And under the statute, as it is currently written, you could not run in both elections. You could not run to be a county board member and a forest preserve commissioner. Just for people's background information. The other thing I'll just mention real quickly, as you noted earlier, the information and conversations that have been had with state legislators regarding the need to extend that deadline to enable the county board to have additional time to get the census information so we can have the most accurate and up-to-date information possible to help as we do this reapportionment process. So if I'm not trying to get any political stance or anything from my perspective, but if people are reaching out to their state legislators and making it known that that you believe that it's important that the most accurate information be used as part of this process, as you noted, it is I think it's vital that the legislators hear that from individuals as well as, as you've noted, from counties across the state. So thank you, Madam Chair, and I will.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Gary.
I will not bring up my Sounds of Silence soundtrack that I've mentioned previously. So I will not cause Alex any problems with, having copyright issues for playing music on our Zoom cast here. So. Thank you,
right. I think we said earlier, you and we grew up with music, right?
Yes, we did.
Which was terrible.
Yes.
I see a hand up. Pat. And you're currently muted, Pat. There you go.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
You know what? I really am interested, but with all the silences, is it the computer or people are not asking questions?
So people are not giving comment.
Oh, well, that's no fun. I must admit, I don't really have any comments except the last person told me something to do and if I wrote it down correctly, is that we should write to our legislators that the date should be changed so that we can use the latest census to figure the reapportionment.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, now that is something I can do and others, but I don't know. Either we have to speed it up a bit because people will leave thinking it's a computer problem. See, it's a computer problem. So I don't know if we should be seeing your faces. 1 minute, 44 seconds.
Well, we can be on screen a little bit longer. That's totally fine. So that's a good idea. I don't want anybody to think that it's not working. But yes, in some ways it's, we want to make this time available to people. So if people want to speak, but at the same time, we we want to be thoughtful, right? And I don't want to harass people for them to speak, but that is, to your point, Pat, that's why we're here, right? Is to hear from members of the public. So we want to make ourselves available. So I know Alex Carr is kind of changing the screen once in a while, encouraging people to talk. So, so yeah, hopefully people will raise their hand. So for anybody who's just joined us, just as a reminder, this is different from the town halls that we've had in the past. This is a listening session for us to hear from you about your thoughts on these questions. Number of board districts, single or multi-member, the number of board members you would like to see on the county board, so a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 29, and how you believe the county board chair should be elected. If it should be a countywide elected board chair, which would be for a 4-year term, or elected from within the county board, and that's a 2-year term, that's what we do now. And a county executive is elected countywide, and that's what they have in Will County. Oh, and then I should say, and then how county board members should be paid. If county board members, in your opinion, should be paid by salary or in sort of a per diem for the meetings they attend or committee meetings that they attend and or committee meetings. Okay, I see Emma Young has her hand up.
How are the board members currently elected? Is it 2 years?
So good question. So right now, board members, you either get, so for every district, there's it's almost like not a raffle, but like a lotto, right? Where you kind of pull these numbers out. And so board members are elected either they get a 4-year term, then a 2-year term, and then a 4-year term, or a 2-year term, a 4-year term, and a 4-year term, or 2 4-year terms and then a 2-year term. So it's totally staggered. So at only every 10 years are all the county board members up for election, or I should say, excuse me, all of the districts up for election. That just happens one time. The rest of the time it is staggered.
And Madam Chair, just for historical purposes, you're correct. This last time, I believe it was in 2011, 2012, they used a lottery ball system, or is it like you noted, a basket with little lottery balls 1 through 21. Previously, they had used the chief judge was involved, and she pulled folded pieces of paper out of a basket, and the first 7 were of the different 4-year, 2-year. The next 7 were of the different. Again, all accumulating with a 10-year cycle, so that they would then come up with a 10-year or that cycle for all the districts. Who knows? Maybe next year there are lots that have been in advances with random number generators. Maybe we'll use some new technology and have a random number generator go 1 through however many board districts, and just you can use the technology rather than I like the old-fashioned way the lottery ball system, but whatever the board, wishes to use, that's what we will put in place.
Well, hopefully we'll use the, actually, I don't care one way or the other, but we do have the lottery ball thing. I literally just walked past it a moment. It's in this red case and I saw it and I thought, what could that be? Then I saw it with the wire cage and all the little balls and the little handles. So anyway, kind of fun. The dark ages, if you will.
You could use a dartboard, and have a little, what was that? The twirling thing. It was a game show, as I recall, years ago, where they had a spinning wheel of something, and you could throw a dart, but that wouldn't work too well. I'm a terrible dart thrower, and you never know. You wouldn't want that to be. There's too many liability issues with that.
Yeah, that's right. No darts in the office.
No. I'm of the vintage lawn. Remember there was a game, Lawn Darts.
We have somebody
sorry.
who'd like to speak. Lena.
Yes, I would just like to, host will unmute you.
You are unmuted. I can hear you.
Okay. Yes. So I just wanted to find out, I'm new to this. So how does this process work? Sounds like it's going to be some kind of lottery system every 10 years or something like that for the board. And then depending on that, you pick the board members. Am I hearing correctly? Or am I missing something?
Lena, thank you so much for raising your hand. And I will say that's what Gary and I were having this sort of other conversation, and I hopefully wouldn't confuse things. I think maybe that we have. So no, our county board members, they're elected. And so they're elected, the terms for every district is chosen. We were kind of talking about, there's this lottery system where, so there's 21 board members right now. And so there's a ball in there, 1 through 21, and then somebody, spins it, and we ask somebody to pull them out, and they say, oh, okay, well, this district gets a 4-year term. This one, you do it for 7 times. So anyway, it's staggered. So you can either have 2 4-year terms and a 2-year term for that district, or a 2-year term and 2 4-year terms, or a 4, a 2, and a 4. So that's what we were saying. We were unfortunately going down a path unrelated to reapportionment. So I'm sorry for that confusion.
No. Thank you so much for explaining it. I appreciate it.
It was our fault. So sorry.
No. Thank you.
We get a little, the silence gets to be too much sometimes, and then we start talking. And anyway, it takes us off topic. So sorry.
And that's not Madam Chair's fault. That's my fault. I'm
That's
the one who.
It's not a fault thing. It's just, it's, what time is it? It's, it's 8:15. So that's okay. It's all good. Thank you for putting that back up there, Alex. So I think there's maybe some people who are calling in, and you can hit *9 if you're calling in to raise your hand, and *6 to unmute yourself. And then if you're on a computer, you can hit the raise hand portion at the bottom of your computer. And I will call on you. So Alex, can you, Celeste Flores, thank you. And you're currently muted. You are unmuted.
Hi. I had the interpretation on so I could hear Silvia. Hey, so yeah, Celeste Flores. Would it be okay if I made my comments in Spanish?
Of course, absolutely.
Perfecto. So mi nombre es Celeste Flores.
My name is Celeste Flores, and I'm here with Mano and Mano. We are making advocacy. We understand that there's a date in order to make the map and we're trying to request at the state level to extend that date so that the committee can use the 2020 census data. We worked hard in order to reach out to the community, and we try to have everyone fill out the form of the census. So we hope that they will also reduce the number of seats and to make sure that they will not affect negatively representation of minority populations that we have in the county. And finally, as they're looking at the populations, mainly the Latino population, so that they know what's best for our community, so that the population and our votes are not left out, if possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And Celeste, I want to make sure that I heard a portion of it correctly. Did I hear you say you would like to have fewer board districts, or if there are fewer board districts, you want to make sure that sort of the representation doesn't change? I just want to make sure that I heard it correctly. If you don't mind clarifying for me, please.
Yeah, I think that if there's the possibility that there'll be seats, like the number of seats lowered, for the committee to consider, like how, if that would negatively impact the representation of minority populations in the county. So we're not, as an organization, we're not advocating to keep the number you currently have or to take it away, because we don't know what the census is going to say, but we recognize and realize that you will be using the 2010 status data, census data. And then the last comment that I forgot, sorry, when it comes to the salary, personally, I guess as a constituent, I would recommend and advocate for salary. And also realizing that I know that a lot of these seats are not considered full-time, but I think, you know, if they are going to be reduced, the county board members should get paid more so that an average working class citizen can consider actually running and being a part of this, because at the moment, the meetings are normally held during the day in the morning, and that's not something that would work well for someone that works full-time and is like a working class citizen. And finally, I wouldn't advocate for the chairman seat to be elected countywide. I think it should stay as it is right now.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you for clarifying. I wanted to make sure that I heard that correctly, and thank you for adding in your additional thoughts, Leslie. Okay, we have 20 minutes left, and this is our last listening session. So I'm hoping that, I know there's a few people who have been here for each one of them. And thank you. I hope you'll consider speaking. On our very last slide, we do have our email address, which is countyboard@lakecountyil.gov. So if you really don't want to speak tonight, we, as always, want to hear from you. You can email us at countyboard@lakecountyil.gov. You can also get more information about the reapportionment process, and that's again at lakecountyil.gov/4569. So we won't have another one of these about reapportionment, probably to answer these questions for maybe another 10 years. So if you have thoughts about these questions, I hope you'll consider raising your hand and sharing them with us. Great, Lena. Go ahead.
Hi. I had one more question related to what we discussed about the salary. How are the board members getting paid right now? What is the how does that whole process work right now, right?
Thank
So
you. Yes, board members are paid by salary.
they're paid by salary. Okay, so the thing. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
And of course, everybody might know this, but how many board members do we currently have? And are we saying let's increase them or decrease them, or you're taking the public opinion, right? Whether we should increase or decrease them. And what are has anybody like done any analysis of like the person previously was saying, how does it impact minority and things like that? Has any of that analysis been done?
So there hasn't been. The only analysis that was done really from an outside researcher or the most recent one was as far as sort of a Lake County government representation was done in the year 2000. And that was done by the University of Illinois at Chicago by a couple of professors there. I can't remember, but it is on our website. So you could find it there. And then you asked me, there's 21 board members right now in single member districts. So I hope that answers your question. And then Federal Voting Rights Act, that stipulates, and I know our county board believes in it, that when you have a population at 50%, a minority population, where they could be 50% of a district, you make sure that that minority population stays together so that that population continues or has a voice, right? And so we do know that we have had an increase in minorities in Lake County. And so it's very important to this board and the people who serve on that committee to ensure that that those groups, where they can be at 50% or greater, definitely stay together. And we do have already one super majority minority district. That is District 9 in Waukegan. And a super majority minority district means that if you can get to 65% of a minority population in one district, then you will do so. And so we were able to do that prior to me being on the board, but in 2011. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you so much. I think that was very informative. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lena. And while we're waiting, I just really want to say thank you to Celeste for making her comment in Spanish. And Celeste has done that at some of our other meetings, and I'm really grateful for you doing it here tonight. So it was good for us to hear, that interpretation through our interpreter, and so pleased that it worked really well. So thank you, Celeste, and thank you, Sylvia, for providing that interpretation. Thank you, Alex. So just a reminder, if you decide you want to speak, to raise your hand, you'll press *9 if you've called in, or there's a raise your hand feature at the bottom of your screen. So thanks, Alex. And thanks everybody for being here tonight, not just the people who are here listening, but all the people here in Lake County government. I'm very fortunate, we all are in the county board, to have really outstanding staff who, work all day, get in here at 8 o'clock, and then they stay late to make sure that everything here goes off without a hitch. So really appreciate that so much. And again, Cassandra Torstensen is on, Gary Gibson is on, Jim Hawkins, he's our Deputy County Administrator, Karen Fox, who is our Chief Deputy, of the, I hope I said that correctly, of the state's attorney's office. Matt Myers, our assistant county administrator. We had Keith Caldwell has been on. He's from GIS, and he's been great listening in to what people are saying as well. We've had Sylvia and Tony on tonight, and then Alex Carr from our communications division. Bailey Wyatt is also here from communications. And I know we have Jeff Carlstone here as well. I want to make sure I don't miss anybody. And Gary, I know you'll help me if I do. And then we have county board members who are on here as well. As I said earlier, Jessica Volipsik, Linda Peterson, Vice Chair Mary Ross Cunningham, and Mike Danforth. So thanks you guys for being on, and thanks to those of you who are continuing to be here. And even if you don't speak, I know it has been interesting for many people to hear what their friends and neighbors have had to say. Emma Young has raised her hand. Go ahead, Emma. I think you're unmuted as far as I can tell.
I'm sorry, I may have missed this, but what would be the reason not to use the most recent census? Like, why is that even being?
Right, it's a great question. So the reason why is because the 2020 census data is not back yet. So normally the census is done every 10 years, and that information is back in sort of the March, April timeframe. And now it has been so significantly delayed. And so we are kind of hamstrung, if you will, by county code or state statute that says, hey, you have to decide on your map by July 13. And so, you know, right now that would really force us to use 2010 data. And so what we're asking from our state legislators is to give us an opportunity to give us more time so that we can use 2020 census data. So earlier in the meeting, I was saying that I had a meeting this morning with the other county board chairs in the Chicagoland area. This is of the utmost importance to all of us and really the entire state to make sure that we can use 2020 census data. As Celeste Flores had spoken earlier, she's with Mano a Mano, that you know, Mano a Mano worked really hard along with other organizations to ensure that every person was counted. And so it's really critical that we can use that 2020 census data. I know our state legislators have heard us. I also reached out directly to the governor's office. So I do know they're working on many important things in Springfield right now, but this is obviously extremely important to us. And I have been reassured that they've heard it, they understand that it's important, and they are absolutely looking into it. So thank you for your question, Emma.
Thank you.
I have Astrid Martinez. And there you go.
Hi. So, I mean, I think that definitely, I feel like everything due to the pandemic has been pushed back. Generally speaking, I don't see why this would be an exception. I think this is something significant that we need to take into consideration in using the most up-to-date census data. To me, it just wouldn't make sense that, you know, we've waited 10 years and it's not going to apply to the changes that, you know, are going to come forward for the next 10 years. So this has been really helpful in learning a little bit more about how everything works, but definitely I'm from the Round Lake area. I'm also with Mano a Mano, and we definitely have seen, you know, changes in our community, and we think that it would be, you know, unfair if those changes are not reflected from here on out.
Absolutely. Thank you. And we agree as well. Thank you, Astrid. Emma, did you raise your hand again?
Yes, I guess my follow-up question to that would be then, if we are not given the opportunity to use the most recent census data, could we do like a special census? Would this be one of those situations where we could call for a special census? Because to wait another 10 years, the numbers are going to be 20 years old, right?
Right. We would need legislation because the county follows the county code. We would then need legislation to maybe allow for, I wouldn't even know. We would need legislation to allow us to, I guess, tweak the map or whatever. But I will say that in the conversations that I've had over the last 2 weeks, particularly, I really believe that there will be more time given, and we are reaching out to our legislators. Our colleagues up and down the state of Illinois are doing the exact same thing. And our legislators, right, they represent you also, as state reps and state senators. So they also want to ensure that every person is counted. So it would be important to them that census data is used. So we hope to have something definitive, that we hear something definitive by early next week. So, but yes, we are all strongly advocating that we are given more time to use the 2020 census data. Astrid, you had your, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Emma, if you had something else.
No, just thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Astrid.
Thank you. So I was actually just going to ask if you, you said that you guys have to adhere to the county code. Have you heard of how other counties are doing this process or how that works?
Sure. So in the call today, some counties are using American Community Survey data, which was done in 2019. My understanding is it's an, it's a subset, right? And then they extrapolate that to kind of get a sense. And we've been told that that's quite accurate. We've been advised by our state's attorney to utilize 2010 census data because of how it is written in county code. And I think we had something, an excerpt from the county code where it says last preceding federal census, I think decennial census. And so that's, so we're using that 2010 data and speaking to some others. My understanding is we all believe that we're going to be given more time. And so by utilizing sort of the 2010 census data along with the American Community Survey data, that they'll get pretty close to what a 2020 map would look like. And so when we are given that additional time, those changes could be done quite quickly because they would be smaller tweaks. In our county, we haven't had significant change. Certainly there has been change. So I don't want to make it sound like there hasn't been change. There hasn't been the kind of significant change that is being seen. I think it's Kane County, where there's really a tremendous growth in population and many minority people. That has been a big increase there as well. So for them, I mean, I can't imagine them trying to draw a map using 2010 census data. You're not counting, thousands and thousands of people. So yes, it matters very much. You can imagine in the city of Chicago, it matters very much. For state districts, it really matters, right? So yes, it's extremely, extremely important. And what I think is great is that we have really dedicated legislators in Lake County and beyond who, are hearing us and are doing what they can on this subject while they're also doing the other things down in Springfield. So like I said, we're hoping to hear more next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we've got about 5 minutes left. Alex, I don't know if you want to put up just that last or that. Yeah, you can put that one up, just the in closing if you want, or the other one on instructions. Up to you. We just have a few minutes left. And thank you again to our interpreters who've been here for both nights, and Sylvia was really helpful to us on the town hall too, and happy to have Tony on here. So thank you both for being part of this effort. Alex, you want to show yourself on the screen just one time? Just for kicks?
I suppose I can. Hi, everyone. I do want to note too that we should have the recordings available because we had 3 other meetings. We should have those available by the end of the day tomorrow, and we'll have them on that website we showed earlier today. So on that web page, we should have them all located there. So for anyone that wanted to check out any of the previous recordings, they should be available. And we know that there's some silence in some of them. So we did try to, so we did try to, cut a little bit of that out so people could just get into what people said and everything like that. So should be available tomorrow. Perfect.
Thank you, Alex. Appreciate it. Alex does a lot of our social media stuff too, particularly with Lake County Department of Transportation. He does a great job for us. So thanks, Alex. So again, in closing, you can always send an email to us at countyboard@lakecountyil.gov. And for more information, you can visit lakecountyil.gov/4569. So we just have 1 minute left. And so in closing, thank you again to our communications team, to our interpreters who are here tonight, our county administration, to Karen Fox for being here from the state's attorney's office, and for all of you for listening and for caring about Lake County government. As your county board members, or on behalf of all of our county board members, we really appreciate it. We're grateful for you taking the time. We are really committed to public service and grateful that that you spent this time with us. So thank you. I show it's 8:45. So good night, everybody. Thanks so much.